I've heard people say this is the most useless, dumbest, unnecessary death in cinema history. I mean, who does this guy think he is? Superman? Okay, jokes aside, I can understand why people hate this death and say it was unnecessary. The explanation they give in the movie is that Clark's father believed the world was not ready for Superman. But Clark had done many other feats in front of others before. So we're back to asking, why did the dad die? Earlier in the movie, Clark's biological father dies to protect his son and save Krypton. But Clark's adoptive father just died to save a dog. Clark could have saved the dog. Nobody would have been suspicious if they saw a young, fit man who is clearly not a teenager grab the dog and make it back safely. But instead, his dad chose to skip town and exit stage left. So, what value is gained from the death of Clark's adoptive father? People find out he's Superman eventually, and they definitely were not ready. People would never be ready for someone like Superman. So this is clearly just a failing by the writers. The death was useless, and it is a stain on what is otherwise a pretty good movie. While the writers did not execute it perfectly, this trope has been done successfully over and over to teach our characters a lesson. Spider-Man, Simba, Hiccup, and many other fictional characters had a dad who died. Some were more impactful and necessary for development. Some were more confusing, and the audience is left feeling hurt for no reason. But this trope persists through many stories, and perhaps more times than one. So why did Superman's dad die? I believe, although rather forced, that Superman needed to know sooner rather than later what it feels like to lose someone. If Clark had done nothing but save people perfectly for his entire life, he would not be able to understand loss. He would perhaps even believe himself to be God. But no matter how much symbolism Zack Snyder used, Superman is not God. The loss of his father taught him that lesson much sooner and a much less painful way. This loss would also make him not want to lose again. This death would also teach him that he may need to kill in the future. This death made Superman Superman. Let me explain. For one reason or another, a lot of our heroes have a moral to not kill people, no matter how evil. This is simply a false moral. While killing someone should not be our first response, it is easy to forget that sometimes it may be necessary. Sometimes the villain will never stop. Our heroes also feel no remorse when killing extras either, but that's hardly the point. When we experience great loss or trauma, or witness a great injustice, we have an innate feeling to right that wrong. And when Superman lost his father, it planted a seed of things not made right, but also a seed of sacrifice. Not just sacrifice of himself, but the sacrifice of others. These two feelings, when combined, gave him the strength to kill Zod. His father's death showed him a reality that crushed ignorance and ushered in an age of seeking. Seeking for who he is and what he's supposed to do, and why he is supposed to do it. In the car before his dad died, Clark and his father were arguing over this exact thing. Clark wants to use his strength to help people, but his father is completely against him. Clark took this disagreement as the people of Earth not being ready, but I see this as Clark not being ready. Are you prepared for the burden? Are you ready for the people to praise you when you do right, and despise you when you do not succeed? Are you ready to bear the inevitable guilt of failure? Clark is supposed to be a teenager in this scene. He is clearly not ready for this burden. He was hardly ready when the time came to become Superman. But because of his father dying before his eyes, it made him question these things. Where did I come from? Where am I going? What is my place among humans? Will I be able to help them? Do they even want my help? If Clark jumped into heroing before asking these questions, he would have lost to Zod in the end. Or worse, joined him in the destruction. Although his adoptive father's death got him to ask these questions, it wasn't until he met his biological father that he became assured of the answers. He found out where he came from and why he was different, and what he was supposed to do. It was the reassurance from his father that gave him that final push to take on the burden of being a hero. However, if it wasn't for Clark going on this journey of self-discovery in the first place, Zod would have never found him. But the question I want to ask you is, would you rather live in a world with Superman or without him? Many might say they want to live in a world with Superman without much thought, but after careful consideration, most people are simply not ready for Superman.